5 former Transnet executives, including former CEO Siyabonga Gama, have been granted bail at the Palm Ridge Magistrate's Court, sitting at the Specialised Crimes Court. Gama's bail has been set at 50,000 rand. The 5 former executives have all been charged with fraud, corruption, money laundering and of contravening the Public Finance Management Act.
All 5 accused have received bail ranging from 25,000 rand to 250,000 rand. Former CEO Siyabonga Gama appeared in court alongside Gary Peter, Petelo Ramusebudi, Daniel Roy and Eric Wood. The 5 former Transnet executives are also charged with contravening the Public Finance Management Act. The NPA says it is quite happy with court's decision today. It also says it believes that the accused are not a flight risk. However, should they revoke their bail conditions, arrests will be made.
We're quite happy with what has transpired in court today. We had made a concession in February after the second appearance of Mr. Kubentherin Moodley, who was apprehended in September, that we intend on adding further accused for the predicate offence or the main offence.
Gama was previously implicated in the Zondo Commission by various witnesses. In Zondo's Volume 2 report, former Transnet executives Anand Singh, Brian Molefe and Siyabonga Gama were some of the key people identified to have had acted corruptly between 2010 and 2018. The commission therefore believed that Gama's return constituted an improper endorsement amounting to corruption. The NPA says when this case comes back in court in July, more arrests can be expected.
This matter returns to court on the 13th of July, where we will be enrolling or adding further accused, meaning more arrests can be expected.
This case pertains to the 2016 payment submitted to Transnet relating to the locomotives deal. The NPA adds that the different amounts of bail was set based on an individual's living expenses. Notando Makotulela, SABC News, Johannesburg.
And for more on today's developments, I'm joined by Mosilo Mothepu. He is a former Trillian CEO and author of Uncaptured, the true account of the Nenegate Trillian Whistle-blower. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Appreciate your time. Your affidavit was central to these arrests. What does this development mean to you?
Good evening to you and good evening to your viewers. Apologies, I have a bit of a cold. I have to say that today has been such a long journey. I opened a bottle of Graham-Beck Brut to celebrate because I went with this affidavit as far back as Tulu Madonsela's State of Capture report in September 2016. And now it's how many years later? But the wheels of justice turn slowly. And yes, the arrests relate to a Transnet transaction where they wanted to buy 1,064 locomotives. And regiments did the work. They raised $2.5 billion from the Chinese Development Bank. And I personally led the team that finalized the club loan at regiments. But Trillian is the one that sent the 94 million rand fee on the 4th of December 2015. And then they were paid on the 5th of December. So that's why people don't understand why Daniel Roy is there. Daniel Roy was there because he was the CEO and director of Trillian Asset Management. And Eric Wood was there because while at regiments, he essentially took away, he just simply asked Transnet to pay Trillian 94 million rand. And what is more disturbing is the money laundering and the racketeering, that of the 94 million rand that was paid to Trillian, 75 million rand went towards to get her to buy Optimum. So essentially, our state-owned taxes and companies and cash flow were were essentially looted to assist 3 brothers to buy a mine. And I have to say, I had to pinch myself so many times because I never thought I would see the day that Eric Wood would be in the dock.
I mean, you know, just hearing you relate that and how personally you are affected by that, because these matters do become personal. When you read your history and your background with Trillian, and you talked about how, in a way, you were installed as a figurehead CEO, you know, you had to subscribe to a notion of loyalty in the sense that you would be protected if you protect other people, and yet you chose to, in a sense, go out on your own, and it hasn't ended well for other people who have done the same. And you think of people like Babita Deokaran and others in South Africa who either are dead, murdered, or treated very badly and lose everything. Maybe just share against that backdrop of risk why this moment is even deeper.
Okay, thank you for that. It depends how many hours you have. I was only at Trillian for 3 months as the CEO, and I saw that they were essentially part of the Gupta network. And I left my job without another one secured. And what subsued was I went to the public protector, Tuli Madonsela, in September 2016. And I showed her how regiments and Trillian were part of the spider web within the Gupta network. And essentially, Trillian had no contract with Transnet, but yet they were awarded and paid hundreds of millions of rands in collusion with Gary Peter, who replaced Daniel Singh, and in collusion with Siyabonga Gama, who replaced Brian Molefe. My journey has been very painful. My statement was given to the Sunday Times. Interestingly, Trillian, Salim Issa, and my former colleagues, I had 9 criminal charges against me. So anything ranging from fraud and corruption and theft. And I was harassed by the MPA. My bill was 1.3 million rand. And it was Plaf who assisted me. South Africans turned that back on me. That's my reality today. I was unemployed for 2 years, excuse me, my code. And it took Rob Schutter from MTN to read an article that by Sikwanati Manjanja, who was then the Financial Mail deputy editor. Basically, the headline was Mosilo Mothepu took a bullet for South Africa, and we're paying her back with bankruptcy. So, and having to sell a house. So I almost filed for bankruptcy. I almost had to sell my house. Only when Cyril Ramaphosa in December 2017 won at Nazareth. In January, I was no longer a suspect with the Hawks and the NPA. They asked me to assist them. So this affidavit says that the 5 individuals are in the dock for corruption, money laundering, and theft, was the first criminal affidavit that I signed in October 2019. But I have to say to South Africans and to the Justice Minister, you cannot expect me to be a state witness without protection. And if the state cannot give me protection, I urge South Africans, if you have a spare bodyguard hanging around, I can surely use it. Because for me, I've been on this journey with Tuli Madonsela since 2016. At 2022, we are seeing arrests. And we know these courts cases may take 10 years. But I have to ensure that my physical safety is ensured should the state need my testimony.
Mosilo, on that note, I have to end it there only because we're out of time, but what you're saying is so grave and so serious because it is a reality and we see it happening all around us. But appreciate you talking to us this evening, appreciate you sharing a bit more on the inside story, and thank you very much for your time, so much appreciated. That was Mosilo Mothepu, who's the former CEO of Trillian and author of Uncaptured, the true account of the Nenegate Trillian Whistle-blower.